Hi, hi, Parminder.
Hello.
It's Midlands Movies here, and we have an absolutely amazing guest, Midlands legend. Parminder has, amazingly joined us for this year's eighth annual Midlands Movies Awards. I just wanted to, we have spoken to a number of jury panel members over the last month, get their thoughts on films, and essentially would love to hear more about, someone who's moved from the Midlands to Hollywood.
Well, I
Oh,
can't wait to see these films, by the way. I'm really looking forward to it. It's a pleasure to be involved. And I didn't realize it had been going on for 8 years. So it's even more of a pleasure to be a part of this. So thank you.
thanks is all ours,
Uh,
and the filmmakers I know, who have submitted towards the awards are so happy to have yourself involved to see these films and to have a look and hope the talent that's out there in the
yeah.
region. A little bit about yourself then. If people don't know your background, you're originally from Leicester, but
Right.
how did you move
Yes.
from Leicester to ER?
I've no idea. I didn't go to drama school, so I didn't do the traditional route.
Mhm.
I was doing drama at Saw Valley College in Leicester. I was just really lucky with the teachers that I had, the two art teachers that I had. One was in music, Mrs.
Mhm.
Dunn, and then in drama, I had Mr. Simons. So I had the opportunity to just be a part of something that was quite creative, which normally probably wouldn't have happened for someone like me. And our drama school teacher was doing writing for TV at the time as well as teaching. He was doing a play at the Leicester Haymarket, and he gave our youth theatre an opportunity to work with some professional actors. There was a professional actress on the show. She ended up leaving because she had an opportunity that she couldn't pass up. And then I think they were sat there with their head between their knees going, who are we going to get to fill in this spot? And in walk I, so she might be all right. And I got my equity card
Mhm.
out of it. And through that, actually, and this is where, life just sort of took me along this specific path. And literally, I went with the flow. I got an agent, and I didn't go with the agent straight away. She'd come to see this play, and then I remember in the January, like a few months later, I'd gone in to contact her and a couple of other agents, and ended up opting for her, and then ended up with an opportunity to go and do my first Christmas show in London at Theatre Royal Stratford East, which Philip Headley, who's just the nicest man, God rest his soul. I don't think he wanted me to actually do it at first because he just kept telling me I didn't have enough life experience, and I was like, "What do you mean? I can do this." The follies of youth. And then I went and did the show, and I went, "Oh my God, this is a lot of work." It was 2 shows a day, and it was for quite a while, and then I was in London, having been grown up in Leicester. So that's how it all started.
Mhm.
And then I probably spent about 6 months not doing anything. And then Joan took me on, and then I slowly started to get work because she was submitting me. It was like telly started happening, theatre started happening. And I did a ton of theatre for about 10 years, mixed in with TV. And then um, Gurinder came to see a show quite a few years, I was probably 10 years into the business, and then Bend It happened, and then John Wells. This brings me to California now. Apparently, was going to go in. He's the executive producer of ER. Apparently, was going to go in and watch like maybe 5 minutes of the movie, not even. I was like, okay, what is this? Stayed for the whole thing, and they went, right, we're hiring the girl from Bend It. Um, to come and be on ER, and it just doesn't happen like that. You don't walk into a
Mhm.
room and someone says, "How do you fancy doing this?" Which is essentially what happened. And I just said yes straight away. And I think he was like, "Well, you don't have to say yes straight away." And I went, Absolutely yes. I love this show," because I loved it before anyway.
Yeah.
And then that was it, 6 years later and hundreds of episodes later. And I'm sat here now. It's so yeah, very unconventional route, But I think the
Yeah.
theme of it is
Mhm.
an opportunities opened up, and it's whether you go with the opportunity or don't go with the opportunity. And I think that's sort of the key for anybody getting into it, really.
That was kind of what I was going to ask you next about, I guess, the challenges. Did you have a lot of support from friends, family?
Yeah, I think for like the first like year or two, I think my mum was like, what on earth are you doing? Like most of my friends had gone to uni, and I think
Yeah.
even I questioned like, what on earth am I
Mhm.
doing? Because you're not making money straight. All
Mhm.
you've got is that I really like this, and that's really all I had to go on. And I think I can do something with this. And I don't really know where that belief came from. And I think, to a certain extent, I was championed a lot at school, and then the people I met that I was meant to meet in the business, because not everybody you get on with is going to be your person. So sometimes when actors or people go up for jobs, they're like, oh, Danny, I didn't get that job and I should have done this and I should have done that. And I sometimes, I just think it's been very few times where I felt like that. But
Mhm.
generally, you can't take it personally, firstly. And secondly, I think you're meant to work with the people that you're meant to work with.
Mhm.
And essentially, I feel like everybody that I have worked with up until this point are people and relationships that I still have actually that with people that have really good taste, most importantly. And it's about finding what your niche is within the business, because it's not just a general, it's like any profession. You find your area of where you sort of fit in, and see what doors open up, and then it's up to you whether you're willing to go through that door or not go through it. And a lot of that's based on feeling.
No,
It is
absolutely.
based
I
on
couldn't
feeling.
agree with you more.
Yeah.
I think that would resonate with a lot of local filmmakers, creatives, people in front and behind the camera. You mentioned dealing with rejection, and I think that would happen quite
Yeah.
often when you're starting out because you don't have the
It still
CV
happens now.
or the. Well, I'll be interested to hear about.
Yeah.
Do you have any? If that's something that everyone will have to deal with in life in general, but certainly in an industry
Yeah.
that is after very specific things for a role or for a
Yeah.
production. How have you dealt with it, and what tools would you recommend others in this area could take from it?
I think for the most part, I just try and like if I can do jobs and I feel good about the jobs that I'm doing, even auditions actually, and I think more so probably in the last sort of few years, maybe I was doing it before anyway, but I feel like even with auditions, it's like you kind of go, well, what is it that I want to present when I'm doing something, when I'm presenting the audition? And as long as I feel good about what I've put out there, even if I don't get it, then it's absolutely fine, because I know there's other reasons of why something didn't work out. And that's fair enough. And it's, sometimes it's just you don't fit in with the look of the thing, or you're too old, you're too young, or whatever, right? If you sit and dwell on it, you're going to drive yourself crazy of like, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? I think it's about just keeping your head down and doing the work that you're proud of. Um, and I just think the rest will start to follow. I say this to my son, who just looks at me and rolls his eyes. And he's thinking of like, well, what if I go and do this and pay me the most money? And I'm like, no, like, think about something that you're passionate about. And if you feel good as you're doing it and you're proud of what you're doing, I said, I promise you the rest will start to fall into place. And I know I'm making that sound like that's so easy, like it's just going to happen, but you have to put your hours in. It's like anybody, you have to put the work in, and each time you're putting something out there, it might require some finessing. You've learned something from it, you're moving forward with learning something from it. um and just not try and dwell. I think my first agent, Joan, who was just absolutely amazing, this woman. And I remember I'd get bummed out about auditions, and like really
Mhm.
big auditions, and she went, okay, next, moving on. Like she didn't even, it
Yeah,
was just like, we're not going to sit here and cry about it. You can go and do that with your therapist. Like,
yeah.
go and like, we're on to the next thing now.
Mhm.
because life still is moving forward. And I think this
Mhm.
profession, if you don't have some of that, I mean, I've spent, there's months where you are not working and you're going, oh my God, what is going on? Like, and I know it comes down to sometimes it's just the bare bones of can I pay my bills? And sometimes you need to do the things that are necessary to pay those bills. Um, but I think for the most part, it's about being proud of what you're doing and what you're putting out there, and the rest will start to happen. Those doors will start to open. You just honestly, if you go there, you're just going to drive yourself batty, and then you're no good to anybody, let alone your work, which is that's the thing that that's the thing that you're passionate about. So
No, you're absolutely right.
that's
I
kind of,
think
yeah,
something that we get here is that I also review some of the films on the site, not just that come in the awards, but in general. And obviously, from the other side, I'm considered, the enemy, the critics, and it's great when you get your 5-star review. Not so great when there's some improvements to be made.
no, yeah,
But something I've learned, and having done music myself in the past and things like that, if you're going to put it out there, you're going to have that certain amount of criticism. You're going to have people
yeah,
who don't like it, and you could
and
make
it's nerve wracking.
musical in the
Yeah,
world. If someone doesn't like musicals, you're probably not going to win them over. It's like
and you're not going
you're
to
in the
please
wrong industry.
everybody, actually. Yeah, and you're not going to please everybody.
Yeah,
It's like whoever you work with.
yeah,
Like, not everyone's going to love what you do.
yeah.
That's fine. Then find your people, you
Mhm.
know?
No, that's absolutely true. You mentioned it a few times as well about doing it for the love of it and not just for the money. And obviously, careers and things and opportunities can come and go somewhat out of your hands. But trying to look for those opportunities, but also people making things just for the love of it, because that is the majority of the things I get to see here at Midlands Movies. It's the majority
Yeah,
of young or first-time filmmakers. They're not perhaps getting funding, or they're not making money, or haven't got a lot to invest, but a lot about making the most of the resources you do have, and like I said, learning from mistakes, and just putting yourself out there, and trying to improve and make it better the next time. Talking of
yeah,
short films, did you ever make any or get involved in any? Obviously, you did a lot of theatre and live
yeah,
things, but did you ever make any short or low budget films?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did, like, yeah, loads. And this is what I mean again, like, you're not doing it because you're getting, it's a massive payday on a short film, right? Um, but I mean, it's sometimes it's that, I mean, there's one that's just come across my table which I really want to do, because I firstly I love the actor involved and his writing. It's very beautifully written, and it's a short film. And I just think the kernel of that idea, whatever that is, that could morph into a bigger project, or it serves to inspire for something else, or it's just a case of, it's just flexing your creative muscle in that
Mhm.
way. Um, and I throughout my career actually have been involved in doing short films. There was one I did a few years ago, which was to do with a mother suffering from Alzheimer's, and again, it was, and this was hilarious because we went to it, it was a film school,
Mhm.
and the facilities, I'm not kidding you, at the film school, I was like, these students are going to have a rude awakening when they get into the real world
Yeah.
of where to get equipment, because they had such amazing equipment and facilities there. So it was a real pleasure to do. um, but no, I love, if it's a good idea, it doesn't matter if it's a short movie. I think it's something that can lead on to something else, and sometimes it's just a case of um, broadening your network, as in your relationships with people, and getting access to those kinds of people that are involved that want to make things. And that, I mean, just for that, that's,
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And yeah, so meeting people, exercising that muscle, and just getting in there, and like, sometimes you just want to go and, like, yeah, I just feel like working with like-minded people, and that's what, if that's what you thrive off of, then go do it. So I love this, that people, because there might be ideas in these short films that
Yeah.
can be full-blown features, and sometimes those are calling cards to send to someone
Mhm.
and say, what about this as a full length for someone to put more money into it.
Definitely, yeah.
I think it's well worth it. And now you can shoot it on all sorts of things, which is
Mm. We've seen
incredible.
some shorts be expanded or they've broken their film down into smaller parts so that they're actually filming a feature, but they've broken it up into a number of shorts in order
Yeah.
to stagger the release and also stagger the money they have to spend out at the start as well. I
Yeah.
think that's quite, great way.
Sometimes you technically just want to learn things
Mm.
as well. You just want to
Mm.
actually exercise your craft.
Yeah.
And like if I use this lens, or it can just be for that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Came across a local filmmaker
Yeah.
in Birmingham who was actually doing very, very much that, where one short was a soap opera drama, but a drama, set at home. The next one was something he wanted to do with editing, and he influenced by like Memento or something, and it was all out of sync. And the next one had a CGI character in, and it was a good way to
Wow.
test to find out what you were perhaps good at, which ones got you the most
Yeah.
flowing as well. That kind of leads me to, or you've kind of mentioned it a little bit. What sort of things would you like to see from a filmmaker of the films that you eventually get to see? What sort of things do you look out for in films in general, or specifically short films? Anything that you hope to see?
Well, I think the very fact that someone goes out there and makes a film, whether it be a short film or a feature, is a feat in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations just on that part, right? Because that's not an easy thing to do. And then scrape together the money and the people to help you make it, because it is a collaborative process. I think it's just originality. I think it's, in some cases, like you talked about the guy that was inspired by the Memento thing, sometimes it's looking at like creatively what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's bringing in somebody else that can creatively, if you can't fix it or help move, else can come in and help. I think it's creativity, originality. If you're making a comedy, like let it be funny, it's like just go for it. Don't. It's about not holding back, and to see people not holding back in their creativity and what they want to tell in their story. Sometimes it's not about being all flashy and jazzy about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just sometimes it's the simplicity of a character, and maybe what 5 minutes in that person's life is fascinating.
Yeah.
And we see those stories around us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when someone just takes a deeper look with their lens of how they want to tell that story, I think that's what I find interesting, and what's what I find interesting in a lot of the stuff that I watch or want to watch.
What's obviously you've grown out of that kind of the world into bigger productions. What's the biggest difference between your big and small productions, short of nice catering? What could I suppose I'll rephrase that. What could a filmmaker?
I mean, that's it. That's all it is.
What if a filmmaker had smaller resources? What could be the benefits of doing that? I guess scene that doesn't work too well, perhaps on a large thing that you go, if only there was a smaller group of us, we could really knock that one out of the park.
I think sometimes, yes, the bigger budget, you might be able to, get a crane or something, right? Mm-hmm. Or whatever those like crazy lenses are that, cost like thousands, there's anamorphic lenses. I think we used that on a project, which was that was amazing. But even with a lower budget, you can get very creative, because you could put someone, you want to do a shot where you're like pulling out, you have to go really fast. You stick someone on a chair. I mean, I just saw Steven Spielberg do that. He didn't he direct a pop video recently, which I was like, what? And I think his wife was literally, he had the camera. I think he was literally had the phone on the person, and she pulled the chair back, to get that.
Yeah.
I think, yes, of course, you can get more toys if you have a bigger budget and better catering. But I think also there's, you can there's room to be as creative as you possibly dare to be, and have so much fun in the process of doing it. So I think the difference is, yes, you can have probably better toys and things like that, but I think essentially the work ethic, and I believe this of any job I've ever done, is exactly the same. Everybody involved takes the stations that they're supposed to take, and hopefully you work together, and the goal is that you create something that you're all proud of, that you've all been on the same page of. So I think work-wise, I don't think there's much of a difference. If the work ethic's there, the work ethic's there, regardless of budget.
Mhm.
But yeah, also, you know, and I suppose on a smaller budget as well, sometimes I feel like people sometimes think, I think we were talking about this before, sound, I
Yeah.
think is very
Oh, God.
important.
Yeah.
So you just have to be very careful about how wisely you spend your money and where you spend it, I think.
Mhm. I know some people can all jump in the car. Oops. Can all jump in a car together and go off, and that's all they need to actually go and shoot the next thing. They put the cameras in the boot, and that's the crew, and the sound is in a boom that's coming out
Yeah.
off the roof rack or something. And yeah, so I know they can do that, which makes it, there's a lot in the Midlands they can go out and film. Speaking of which,
Mm.
what do you miss? Do you miss much about the Midlands? Obviously, you're in glamorous Hollywood at the moment. Obviously, the doing so
I am
well.
right now.
What do you miss
I've spent
about
a
the
lot
little
of
old
time.
Midlands as we are here at the overcast?
Well, I've spent a lot of time in the Midlands over the last few years, especially because I've been shooting DRA. We've done 2 seasons of that now, so the second season's about to come out, which is very heavily based, pardon me, in the Midlands, in Birmingham. And it's, I always say that I think it's sense of humour. There's nothing like when you're on a British set and there's such a shorthand with people.
Sure.
It's and similar accents. You're not having to futz with that. But food actually as well. I'm a big foodie, so it's just sort of like, and the
Great.
kind of places that have cropped up, and
Yeah.
it's been and then of course, my family's all still there, so
Cool.
there's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah.
Thanks, Parminder. Any final thoughts you'd like to add? Any nuggets of advice you could leave our followers with, or any final thoughts about your excitement about the Midlands Movies Awards? Hopefully,
I'm really excited to see them because you've said there's some good ones. I just, I just congratulate everybody for the fact that they've gone out and took the time to make something, and that they feel that passionately about what they're doing, and to tell their own individual stories, and not get sidelined by don't make it too complicated. You don't need to life doesn't have to be too complicated, and I think that's true of in movies as well. Sometimes the most simplest stories are the most beautiful. So just keep looking for those opportunities, keep your head down and keep working, and the rest will happen.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate that. And obviously the filmmakers that get involved in the awards, the people that follow us, or just the film fans that I know that we've got in this region are, always so passionate about film. They're so passionate about the people who have, make films, the people who've come through the industry and everything else like that. That we hope we can play a small part in that and do exactly what you suggested. Where people are networking, linking up.
Big up the Midlands, I say.
And yes, we're the same. We're exactly the same. Similar name.
Yeah, exactly. I
Cool.
can't wait to
Thank
see
you
them.
so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you.